guys, so you know I'm very, very excited about my guest tonight. And I know I say that all the time, but tonight I'm really, really excited because if you haven't seen it already, I've been posting some pictures of his food, and you know what that does to me. It makes me either really hungry or really horny. And if you can make me hungry, I'm your friend. If you can make me horny, well, maybe we will be friends. If you can make me both, oh my god, we'll be BFFs. So, I think my guest tonight, if he hasn't run away yet, is going to be my new BFF. So, guys, before he runs away, I want to welcome to the show, Chef Cole Hinueber. Come on out, Chef. Woo! Yay! Oh my god. Welcome, Chef. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, there's like my little gong sound to make sure that we're like back. Okay, let me just give me a moment here because I needed to turn off that extra disco light. I was asking you before if you had epileptic tendencies, and you said no. So
perhaps after this.
Oh my after this, perhaps. Well, welcome, Chef. How was your weekend?
Fantastic, relaxing. It was really nice.
Oh, sorry. Chef has a very how do I say this? Very soft voice.
I'll do my best.
I actually gave him a drink, so hopefully he gets a little bit more loud with us tonight. So anyway, Chef, I'm really excited that you're here because I've been following you for about a couple years now, and like from a distance, I was your big fan for a moment, but you reached out to me a few weeks ago and just like, hey, we have mutual friends basically, and like, it'd be lovely to meet you. So I went and met you, and we had such a great conversation. And you're probably like, oh my god, this girl just stayed here for like 3 hours. I think we talked for like 2 or 3 hours, and I actually had a date with a friend of mine that evening, and she said, I've been waiting for you since 5 o'clock. But I said, yeah, but I'm bringing desserts.
My condolences to your friend.
No, but I brought your dessert, so she actually forgave me immediately. I sent her pictures of what I was bringing her so that she wouldn't get mad at me, and yeah, apparently everything's forgivable if I brought your food, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was so nice of you to come by.
Of course. So tell us about Kitoko. For people who don't know about it yet, tell us about the concept of the food truck, basically, and when you started it.
Sure, yeah, it's a long story, but Kitoko is something that we started in July 2020. So I have been thinking of opening a business for many years, trying to come up with that plan. I have been working mostly just trying to learn the culinary trade around the world, and so I had a lot of different ideas. And then, my idea was to open a bakery, but when the pandemic hit, it didn't seem like the moment just to sell sweets. So I decided to go towards bentos, towards what local people here on Maui were familiar with, since that was the clientele at that time. And so starting out with a few colleagues, one of my former assistants from the hotel, and then little by little just building the team. And it's been a really fun process, meeting all the local farmers, collaborating with all the lovely team members, all the youth we have. So a few former colleagues from the hotel have joined me. So the idea is to create a space where we can really make the food that we love to make, and we're not necessarily anticipating the customer tell us what to make, but we're just putting the food out there that gets us excited, and that's what we really love about it. And I think that the team members I have really buy into that concept. So it's really a passionate thing that we do, as well as a career.
You started it in the beginning of the pandemic, and with the idea that you're going to make the food that you want to make. You think that was very risky?
I think it was risky, 100%. But to me, I couldn't just sit there and not know what my next project was going to be. It was very stressful, just the uncertainty. So I wanted to get started on something. That was very important to have a project. So.
But I mean, it takes a lot of balls to like to start something that huge for like considering how uncertain it was. Like I feel like first of all, most places were just trying to figure out how to stay open, and not just that. That when they pivoted most places pivoted to something simpler, right? Because it's safer, it's less expensive, but you're creating food that takes a lot of time and effort to make, and it is what you want to make. And during the pandemic, a lot of times people were like, well, no, we're making do with what we need, not want. So I thought that was kind of outrageous, but great. I mean, obviously it worked for you because you're very talented and you can back it up. But
Yeah, it was.
yes,
I didn't think about it like that, but it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. To me, it's just like that's all I know. So it was just. I thought that what I was making was kind of simple, to be honest with you.
yes,
But I was really just also had the belief, that maybe they don't know they want it, but if I get enough people to try it, there's some people who's gonna appreciate what I'm doing. And so even though what I'm doing, I feel like it's not that out there. It's definitely not like cinnamon rolls, what we do in the bakery, stuff like
right.
that. So acai bowls. So definitely trying to make unique products, but still that are familiar, I suppose, with all the Hawaiian flavors.
And your background was more pastry, right?
Yeah,
But
definitely over the last 10 years.
you cooked more savory as well in at some point.
I did early on in my career. I was definitely more savory for the first several years in my youth. And then I realized I needed some discipline, some structure. So I went to the pastry side for, to learn precision, to learn.
Is that what pastry did for you?
I think
You
so to a
Yeah.
degree. It gave me a little bit more organization, a little bit better like planning,
Ooh,
understanding systems rather than just freestyle. And, it's good to improvise.
yeah.
But if you do it within a structure, I think maybe more efficient. So
But you still prefer doing pastry, or are you having fun just doing more savory now as well? Or
maybe I'm confused. I don't know.
you're confused? What do you mean? Well, just because I mean, obviously, you're still making your beautiful pastries, but
I love
the
it all. I
majority,
love
yeah.
it all, to be honest with you. Sometimes I do feel that like pastry, I love the flow of it. I love the efficiency, the organization. You can make a lot of beautiful products in not that much time if you have a plan.
Mhm.
The savory food, I just love to eat it, so I love that aspect. The closeness to the food because that's like something that's kind of primordial. So that's different in a sense.
That's true. But when you create the menu, you mentioned you collaborate a lot with the people who work with you and the people that have joined your team. So it's not just purely your menu.
Especially the savory stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say like the pastry stuff, maybe a little bit more come from me. But we have a lot of things going on, whether it comes to the bakery. We have the sourdough that was existing there before, or the sourdough
Right,
pizza.
right.
And then we added the tarts, we added all the sweets. So that kind of comes definitely more from me, those ones. Whereas like the savory menu for the truck is definitely influenced from a lot of my friends, my colleagues, whether it's Thai influence, Latin influence, Japanese influence. So all people that I know, all places I've worked. So it's kind of, in that sense, even Hawaiian, like, Young Peyton.
Yeah, so often it's called a fusion restaurant, which food truck. But sometimes I feel I don't want to use the word uncomfortable, but sometimes when I hear the word fusion, it's so overused that I
Could be
think
derogatory or
yeah, it could be either, right? And I think your food is not necessarily fusion, but just knowing maybe from the way I want to define it, it's more than just fusion. You have traveled all over. When I first met you, I was actually a little confused with your accent because you've lived everywhere, and so your diction was a little bit different. You're from Wisconsin, right? But
yeah, definitely.
you know,
Even depending on like who I'm with during the week or what my thoughts are, my accent gonna switch a little bit. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. So yeah, I was actually kind of giggling about that because the last few guests, I try to behave. In fact, okay, Brad's not here to kind of like corral me back in case like I just let go and I just say random
No
things.
lassos anywhere.
Yeah,
in
no.
the corral. Okay.
Oh my god, I could be in like bad trouble. But I was just wondering. So you speak many different languages. You speak French,
Yeah.
Spanish.
I speak French and Spanish very well. Italian and Portuguese I can get by. Definitely not like expert, but I always make effort when I'm in different kind of communities to try, and over time I've been able to pick up some stuff.
And you've always been interested in linguistic. I was gonna say linguistics, but
yeah,
linguistics.
definitely. I love to learn languages. That whether it opens so many doors. Whether it's like food or sports or friendships, relationships. Just knowing languages is like it's so cool because you can connect millions more people each time. So
Yeah, it was fun. Like when you were showing me around in your kitchen, like small food truck kitchen, and you were talking to your staff in their native language, which is just really sweet and sexy, I must say. Do you happen to speak Braille?
No, I'll work on it maybe next year. I'll come back next time.
This came from like a joke. Actually, it's not a joke. I kind of have this fantasy of having my own lingerie line, and I wanted to design these panties that said, "If you can read this, you're too close," but it's gonna be written in Braille.
So it will only have effect on certain
Yeah.
people.
So basically, once you know how to speak Braille, let me know because I might need some spell checking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Understood.
Thanks, Chef. You're such a good sport. I forewarned Chef before coming here. I was like, Chef, it's gonna be a naughty podcast, please. And you said you were gonna wear your naughty hat, so I was really excited.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
But please don't get me in trouble. Anyways, so you traveled. Let's go back to where you were born and raised in Wisconsin, right?
True.
And then you went to Australia first. Is that your first trip outside of the country, or at least a major trip?
I think that really like one big catalyst for sure was I moved to Maryland for high school and just getting out to the East Coast, DC area, totally different. And then after that, I actually moved to Costa Rica instead of my senior year.
In high school? Or?
Yeah, so basically I graduated early and I just like bounced, moved to Costa Rica. I was like volunteering there for a while. It was great. It was a great experience. It was brief, but it kind of like opened my eyes to travel, language, different culture. So I was super motivated to continue to learn Spanish when I moved back to the U.S., back to the D.C. area.
Mm-hmm.
So I surrounded myself with Latin community, whether it's at soccer or in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to Australia for college. And same, I gravitated towards a lot of like Latin roommates and stuff. So I lived with a few Peruvian brothers. We're great friends to this day. One of them is actually like super famous international artist now. And
Nice.
so I actually reached out to him about our special this week. We're going to do a little Peruvian thing. So excited. So, I always kind of like go towards that sort of experience, like to get roommates or colleagues or, teammates that that kind of bring something to me culturally as well. Not just like, okay, teamwork or hustle or effort, but also like spend time around different cultures, like to really like assimilate certain things. And so after kind of like learning Spanish to a decent level, I started to be like, okay, I could learn another language. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to learn French not because I wanted to go to France really, but it's so international, So I was like, it could be useful because so many places speak it.
Right. Spanish and French and English would be the top three most spoken languages. Is that right?
I mean, I'm not a sociologist, so don't quote me on statistics, but I say, they're up there with, definitely some other ones.
Yeah. So Australia, you went there for college.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you study there?
So I was studying, I wasn't the best student, first of all, but I was studying natural resource management, but I was cooking as well when I was in school. And honestly, I was definitely more into that than I was to school, and my parents really wanted me to graduate. So I did my best, and I did study something I was passionate about, but I was looking at how much I was paying for it, and
what did you study? Sorry.
Natural resource management. So it was like ecology, science, biology. But at the end of the day, I just love cooking, So I was like, forget about school.
But you graduated.
No, I didn't graduate.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I moved back to Wisconsin. I did some more school there, but it was really just so I could play sports. Like I wasn't really into school then either.
You played sports mostly.
Just like I played soccer.
In college.
Yeah, it was just like.
Oh wait, you went to college just so you'd play soccer?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's great.
That's how the American system is, I guess.
Right? Oh my God, that's so funny. Soccer, but you played soccer since you were young?
Since I was a little kid. It's kind of like my religion, every Sunday, gotta go to church, but the church is a field.
You still play?
Yeah, I still play.
Where do you play here?
Played yesterday in Kalama Park.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So do you have like a league?
No, actually yesterday I played KCC, yeah.
You kind of have a league that you belong to? Or?
The leagues, they are what they are, but I just like to get out there, kick the ball, it's great.
Cool.
Yeah, it keeps you fit, keeps you kind of relaxed.
mind off.
you get a lot of stuff out of your
everything.
system. Yeah, your mind is not on work at all, which is rare. So
I hear you. I need that too. Same here. I actually majored in exercise science, and while I was getting my degree in exercise science, one summer that's when I discovered I wanted to bake, and so I started baking. Okay, my first baking project was croissant, and my friend who was a private chef at the time, he was my roommate. He's like, okay, he was a former roommate, and I borrowed one of his books, and he's like, why don't you start with brownies or cookies or something? I was like, that's for like, housewife type of stuff.
Betty Crocker.
Yeah, Betty Crocker stuff. Like, I want croissants, and he's like, okay, you realize that's not easy. But I just followed the instructions, and quite honestly, he said I made some of the best croissants he had in a while. Until of course Tartine opened in San Francisco and a few other bakeries that I really love. But at the time, there weren't actually a lot of amazing bakeries in San Francisco, which was interesting for a very food-centered city. They didn't have a lot of bakeries. But anyhow, I discovered that. So what I would do is I would make ice cream, for example, and while the ice cream is churning, I go for a run. It's like 20 minutes later, I come back, I have ice cream, and I ran. So it's kind of just balancing it out.
Yeah, you like, I work out too much, now I gotta eat some more.
I love both. So I'm just really lucky that I actually really love being physically active. If I don't have that, I'd probably go a little psycho.
Yeah, it's important.
We need it. Yeah.
Definitely. I have friends back home that one friend of mine, very good friend, we like to hang out. We call it cross training. So we're gonna cook, we're gonna work out. You know what I'm saying? And then it's just like a circuit, just like that.
That's the best circuit ever. So so from Australia, you went back home to Wisconsin, and then.
Yeah, I was in Madison, Wisconsin. I worked in some restaurants in Madison around the capital. Some pretty dope places. It was a great experience. Honestly, I think it's underappreciated scene in Madison, and I learned a ton there. And I spent about 4 years working my ass off, and then I moved to France. So just like I moved to France without any plan, without any visa. I just bought a ticket to Paris, and then I got a train to Nice because I saw it on a map close by Italy.
Yeah.
In the south, it looked cool, so I made the right choice.
Yeah.
I was lucky that I made the right choice or something, but it was a great place. I stayed for about 10 years.
About 10 years in that area.
In Nice, yeah.
Nice. And you were saying when you were talking about that, you studied. First of all, you said you wanted to be a butcher.
Yeah, I was like, I just wanted to be a better cook. So I was like, maybe I want to learn like to do butchery, charcuterie, or like maybe I want to learn how to make bread. Maybe I want to learn how to do pastry. And French people are like, don't be a butcher. And I was like, all right. And they kept saying it, and I was like, well, I guess that's not the move then. So I went towards pastry, and definitely it taught me a lot in life, not just like in the kitchen, but in life.
For instance, like what outside of pastry itself?
The importance of planning and creating like systems, structure, and just like efficiency, and how like really like efficiency really became something really important to me after that, because I didn't really care that much about efficiency or organization before, and I was all about creativity. That's like where my focus was. But then like through pastry, I understood like, because I've always been a person that has a lot of energy, but I have a tendency to spend it all.
Yeah.
And to do too much in a day,
Yeah,
plan too many things. So it taught me that actually making life easier and doing a lot, but in an easy way, is actually smart.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, I need to learn that. Yeah. I mean, I'm like pastry chef, pretty much by profession, but I get too
carried away,
and I change my mind easily. Like, in the future, I want my menu to be just like whatever. As in, people pre-order, they don't know what they're gonna get. I don't know what I'm gonna make until I get my fruit or whatever. That's my goal.
But that's cool. I mean, that's fair. And then you have foundations you build off of. So it's kind of like you have to have that blend of freestyle and like organization. You don't want it to be just like completely rigid structure, because that's boring.
Right. I can't do that.
Me neither.
But yeah, I understand about the structure because generally speaking, most recipes, pastry-wise, much more precise. However, I'm sure you and I know there are like the precise measurements, and then there are ways to really work around it depending on the kind of fruit that you get. So you still really have to have a good understanding of what is not constant.
Yeah,
right?
you can't just make assumptions for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not just straight math for sure. But
Exactly.
it is nice like when your cream finishes
Yeah.
and like your sponge cake finishes at the same
You-
time.
yes.
You got exactly the right amount. You're like,
Yes.
okay, did something right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
what
I
like.
love that.
Yeah.
I want to stage the Sure Kitchen eventually one of these days. I probably will have a better chance.
Anytime
of
we'll have more customers than we ever had before that day, I'm sure. So
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I will totally announce when I'm staging. It'll be so much fun.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, definitely in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited. I used to stage all the time when I was living in San Francisco. I had, we talked about that. You know how we had our jobs during the week, and then on our days off, we'd still stage
Yeah.
for chefs or restaurants that we want to learn from. And I find that really interesting because I don't know if this is aging me, but I find that there's a lot of young chefs now, or a lot of young cooks. They don't know the value of interning.
Sacrifice.
Yes.
No, for real. Like, I'm
it is
I'm
true.
not gonna be a hater or that get
Yeah.
off my lawn or nothing like that. But it's like sacrifice. Yeah, it's something to be
is.
said for it.
Yeah, it creates for sure character, first of all, but also I think the life skills isn't really learned. They're not learned in school. They teach you the basic, um, ratios and techniques, but there's something to be said about learning from different chefs and learning how they think and how they process things, instead of just good old plain recipes. So a lot of young chefs now, I feel like, okay, they graduated from culinary school and they come out like, oh, I want to get paid $25 an hour and this and that, and they already think they're rock stars and they call themselves chefs already, which for some of us, like, it took me a while. And even now, when people call me chef, I get a little um, uncomfortable because I don't really run a kitchen anymore. Like, I make donuts now. I mean, I've ran restaurants, but
Whatever, don't say that. You're tripping. Stop.
well, first of all, chef, you came here wearing your chef jacket, so
Can I show the shorts? Can I
yes,
stand?
okay, yes, please do.
I
Okay,
stand up,
this
alright.
is Hawaii, okay? Since you get a chef in the shorts.
All right. Just full disclosure.
It was so cute. I actually thought it was perfect because it's like how things happen now with like Zoom meetings where somebody would look so coiffed and perfect from like the waist up, and then they're still either not wearing bottoms.
Yeah.
And they're wearing their knickers. And that's it. That would be me normally. It's just that chef's actually gonna be here, so he'd see my bottom. So I actually put some full clothes on, even if that was normally my intention.
We all make exceptions.
So yeah, actually, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I mentioned this to chef that next show I will have like a secret menu for the guests. Like, okay, lap dance, check or cross out, or like things that are allowed in the show that I can do without getting myself or anyone else in trouble.
So how many fights you been in after the week after?
So far, none yet.
Okay.
None yet. I've had mostly.
Respect.
Yeah, like, well, okay, like, when Chef Kyle was here, I really, 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 really tried so hard to behave. I made one dirty joke, I think. And when Maui Visitors Bureau was here, it was so official. They were so official that I tried not to offend them. So I behaved on that one as well. But yeah, there's some random times when I go a little crazy. And we just made one drink because Brad's not here usually to like pour, and sometimes I get in trouble because towards the end of the show, I get drunker and I forget. One time I had my friend Patty on, and she's a lightweight, right? And I just kept making us drinks, and it was so fun to watch the show from her being all like, whatever, like all poised to like falling on the table.
Patty, how do you feel about that?
I hope she's watching. I'm gonna send her this episode so she remembers, in case she probably has forgotten because she was drunk. Okay, we both got drunk. She actually ended up staying with me. I'm like, you're not driving. We did karaoke, by the way, I'm not gonna ask you to join me on that because I know you gotta work tomorrow. But I do karaoke after midnight. Next time, chef.
The Filipino karaoke game, especially on the cruise ships.
Absolutely.
Watch out. That's all I gotta say. The variety show with the dance even more better.
That's right. That's right. Okay, now I forget where I was. So I was talking about, so you were in France for about 10 years, but you said you studied a few disciplines, right?
Yeah, you know, and the way I did it was kind of like the old school European apprenticeship system. So I did like mostly school, and then you go, or I mean mostly work, and then you go to school just a little bit here and there. So basically, school every Monday, we had practical in the kitchen, and then sometimes you'd have maybe once every 5 weeks, Tuesday and Wednesday as well. So basically, you're working, and most of the stuff I would learn would be at work. So I think that the best advice I would give to the youth is just pick your jobs wisely, you know, and pick them based on where it's gonna bring you forward. Obviously, money is important and all that, but keep in mind, you know, knowledge is it can help you so much in the future. So that's really what I went for. I was just like, which places can I work at? And I was fortunate. I had good advice. You know, I was living in a youth hostel when I first arrived. For the first year and a half, I was in a youth hostel. There was like 12 people sleeping in the bedroom.
In France? Or?
Yeah, in Nice, right by the train station. You know, I was working at a Michelin star restaurant like 16 hours a day, and then you come home and it's like party. You know, boxes of wine, like music. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, I'm trying to sleep, but no can. So.
And I mean, did you have to join them in parties sometimes, or
therefore, yes, occasionally, perhaps.
Yeah, I stayed in hostels myself when I was traveling all over Europe, and I love that scene. But I can just imagine if you're actually there to work, it's truly different.
It was nuts, but I'll tell you the day that you know, the day that I got an apartment, definitely changed my life like big time. And that was dope. I had so many, and that was another situation where I had so many international roommates. So like Moroccan, Senegalese, Congolese, like Indian, you know, all in this one apartment. Same apartment. I had it for like 5 years, and French people didn't really want to live with us anyway. So when we would not like, you know, we put out ads, but it was kind of like for whatever reason, it was always an international house, which was dope. Got to learn so much. And then I moved in with my girlfriend into like the projects, but where ours.
And this was still in Nice?
In Nice, yeah, and that was cool because you know, with the French system, there was a moment we was paying like 60 euros for a studio in downtown Nice. 60 euros a month.
What?
Yeah, with like student aid and all that. So that was a good time because it was a tiny little apartment, but I was working at a great place.
Yeah, and it was yours.
We were right by the train station, right by the sea. Yeah, life was good.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. So 10 years and you studied there, and then from France, where did you go back?
I was recruited to come here to work in one of the hotels. Yeah, so I came here in 2018.
Wait, so from France you came to Maui?
Yeah, I was
shut up,
I was
didn't know
recruited
that.
to be pastry chef at Spago in the first seasons. Yeah.
And I know you said you kind of turned them down a few times, and
Yeah, it was you know, it was a great offer and everything, but I wasn't really that necessarily with it, like with this like kind of like American corporate dining scene and everything. But you know, they convinced me that there's a little more to that company than maybe what I was aware of, and it was a cool place, good run. Got to meet a lot of great people, and you know, you look at the Four Seasons here; it's great views. I got to do like some great creations and stuff. Definitely, like there was some frustration with just the corporate structure, all that. So to get out of that, you know, after the pandemic and really kind of break free from the, I would call it the straight jacket of, you know, corporate resorts here on Maui. Because, like, not to say there's a lot of great places, but maybe it's not the place I feel the most comfortable to blossom, I guess, you know?
So that's 2018, 19, 20, so a couple years. And then, obviously, pandemic happened. It wasn't necessarily your choice, but it was probably a blessing.
No, the pandemic wasn't my choice.
Yeah, guys, just in case you're going to blame it on Chef Cole over here, he did not make it happen, okay?
Sorry, guys, sorry.
No, but okay, so pandemic happened and you were let go pretty much. Everybody had to be let go.
Yeah, and you know, and we did, and we were, and it was like, but there was a certain way to do that, and I felt like, you know, perhaps could have been handled differently. All good though, because you know, it launched me onto what I'm doing now. Definitely a scary time, no doubt. I feel like we all went through the pandemic and our trials and tribulations in different ways at different times.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think the hardest part of it for me was the very beginning. because I've been working so hard my whole life, I never like thought I'd be out of a job, like, you know what I'm saying, like,
Right.
or like, oh, I don't have a job, I don't have income, like,
Yeah.
that had never been an issue for me, like, no matter what, like, I never had a lot of money, but I always knew that I could get a paycheck, like,
Right.
for sure, like, there's a
For your skills.
yeah, I
and
could go somewhere and like, even like early on in my career, I was like, I could get a job in a restaurant, like,
Yeah.
and get money to pay rent. Like maybe
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be saving, but
right.
all of
But
a sudden,
know
like you're
gonna
at Hawaii
hire
and you're like, holy shit, I got all these bills and no money coming in. So that was like when I was like, okay, I gotta spin my gears. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So actually, I didn't think to open a food truck right away. Like I was trying to escape.
Oh, you were going to leave Maui.
Yeah, I was gonna move to Brazil.
Oh my God! Okay, this story I didn't hear. So, okay, so you were gonna go to Brazil,
Yeah.
and
I was thinking like this. I was thinking I saved a little bit of money. I basically like bottomed out of my savings moving here, just all the expenditures, whatnot. But I
Wow.
saved a little bit of money over a couple years that I was working in the hotel, and I was like, I'm not just gonna sit here and watch it all evaporate, like pay rent, buy groceries, and just have nothing.
Yeah.
So
expensive.
I was like, why don't I go to Brazil? I wanted to learn Portuguese, and I was like, my money's gonna go further down there.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I could kind of ride out the whole pandemic or the beginning of it, see what's good, and then have a great experience at the same time.
Yeah.
And just kind of like also get away from some of the frustrations that maybe I felt in my role. And the day before, so I was going to buy a ticket with my friend, Eduardo, and he was going to help me. I was going to move in with his sister and her husband in Santos. And Brazil was still open way after like most borders was already closed. True Americans still open. And the morning I was supposed to go meet up with him, buy the ticket, he sends me a screenshot that Bolsonaro closed the borders to Americans that day.
Shut up.
Yeah, so like for real, like I was for real gonna buy a ticket, and I would have gone for sure, like 100%. Yeah.
And so you opened Kitoko. Is it
Like
because
2 months later, probably or something like that. Yeah.
Is it just because like fuck it, I'm here, I might as well?
Well, I was like, okay. I was thinking like I'm gonna save all my money. I'm gonna bounce to like a cheap country and like we live in experience. And I was like, well, that's not gonna work. So I was gonna spend all my money and open this thing and see what I can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's just I think about it and how when my former partner and I moved here, we kind of told ourselves that we'll live here for 2 years, figure out if we like it, and maybe we'll open a business. And we ended up opening Donut Dynamite a year and a half after moving here. So it was a little early, I suppose.
No, that's hella early. You guys was on that rhythm. That's good. That means you came in with a plan.
Well, I mean, I had a dream in my head. I don't know if I would call it a plan, but basically I've talked about wanting to open a donut shop forever. So all of my friends knew I wanted to open a donut shop.
I call it a plan.
I like that. Thank you, Chef.
Okay.
What did I say? He's going to be my new BFF. Okay. So the plan was to open a donut shop, and the plan was 2 years, but I did it a year and a half early, right? So it makes you kind of stuck to a place when you open a business. So as much as I know that you like Maui, was that like a huge risk factor for you in your head to think like, okay, I'm going to start a business here, but I'm not even sure if I like Maui? I mean, I know you love Maui.
No, I mean, I love Maui, but for sure, like, commitment, just like commitment issues, like all around, you know what I'm saying? So it's like to commit to a spot, like it was hard because I had the travel bug, like, I mean, I still do, but I had it like real bad, like for real. So it was like, it's hard to just take that freedom away. And even like, to be honest with you, since I opened the business, definitely had like temptations by like, I don't know, job offer in like Argentina to be an instructor at a culinary school, or like there's always temptations to like bounce, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I found that for me, it's an important time in my life to slow down a little bit, establish roots. And Maui's a place where like, people's like, oh, there's this thing with the, outsiders on Maui maybe not feeling so, like accepted, whatever. I was like, I never felt that at all. So like, I don't know what it is, but it just, to me, it was more like quite the opposite. It took me a little time to understand certain things, certain, just getting to know Maui, because it's not like one culture on Maui. There's so many different cultures, so getting to understand a little bit more of that. But, it's like moving to something completely different, but at the same time, like it's so American here too. Like when I first moved here, I was like mostly culture shocked by like how American it was.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
You know.
It's actually funny because one of the reasons why I wanted to move to Maui is because to me it was like a halfway being like the Philippines and you're still in the States.
Yeah.
So the weather, the climate definitely reminded me of the Philippines, and a lot of the produce that you get here and that can grow here are the kind of fruit and vegetables that I grew up with. So I love that part, but definitely the lifestyle, and especially depending on where you are, like you're in Kihei or in Wailea, I mean, to me, it's like anywhere America. That's why I like being in Wailuku because I can really feel how local it is. But I think, like with you, like you said, sometimes it's like a culture shock coming into Maui, and then also hearing that if you're Haole, especially, you know, like
Yeah, the thing is, I wasn't tripping on any of that stuff because I already like.
You've lived everywhere. And,
yeah, I've been in spots where it's like I was definitely out of my context or whatever. Like even high school, like moving to the DC area, Maryland, like coming from Wisconsin, like they would make me say board with my Wisconsin accent, like board, like a motorboat.
Oh.
So they would make me say it like over and over again. So it's like just stuff like that where it's like you're obviously the outsider, and like it was like basketball class. I was the only one that didn't play basketball. I was like, but I mean, I played how I could. I wasn't any good, but I was definitely hustling. So it was like that, and then like moving just to different countries, like even in France playing soccer, like in the locker room going through and like all the guys is like give each other the kiss on the cheek, and then to me like they don't even look me in the eye and they just give me like a lame ass high five, like, but they don't mean any disrespect, but it's just like being the outsider. It was like coming here was like. It was like so welcoming to me. So it's just funny hearing from different people's perspective how they feel like, but it's good. I think it's good for people to like have that interaction or like even like a little bit of tension. It's like then you sort through it and then it's like conversation, So it's
well, also because you're well traveled, I think you just had a better approach to it, and also I think when you are so used to traveling and you're the outsider, you learn better how to adapt and respect, right? Instead of like going into a place and like, oh, this is how I like it at home and this is how it should be done, and imposing.
You talking about the one that came in this morning, asked me for a cinnamon roll?
What?
Yeah. No, I just.
Did somebody ask you for a cinnamon roll?
Every day, but it's just one of those things where I try even for say to sometimes the guests that come in and they're like, they don't even look at the product line or the display and they're just like, well, you guys have any cinnamon rolls? I'm like, well. I think that, and maybe it's very, I try to be very calm when I say it and not standoffish, but it probably depends on the day. But I try and be like, in my opinion, when you come into an establishment, what you should do is you should try the products that they have and then decide whether you want to try it again ever or not.
Yeah. I agree. I have the same issue. Sometimes people come in here and say, do you make any old-fashioned donuts? I was like, I do enjoy old-fashioned donuts, but that's not what I make. And I always tell people, like, they're like, oh, when, they always ask for some other classic donut flavor that they know. And I'm like, I don't make other people's donuts. I just don't. And in fact, I don't care what they do.
You do your thing, but that's why everybody, and that's why you've had your level of success. And like, I don't know, you could probably fill me in more how it was in the beginning. But sometimes when you have that outsider product or something a little bit off the beaten path, like, it has familiar notes, but at the same time, it's your style. So it takes time to catch on.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about you, I think, and this is what I'm trying to follow your footsteps, is like, is that you have that belief and you just keep doing it until it works, So respect for that.
I agree, because at the end of the day, and I love what you said the other day. I was telling you a little bit of the history of where you're at, or at least what I personally knew about the space where you're at. And I love what you said when I was like, you don't really care what happened before or what the history of a place is because you intend to just do your own. You know what I mean? Just like you said, when you started this food truck, you just wanted to make the food that you wanted to make, which is ballsy, and I relate to it, and that's why I was like attracted to your energy and your food, because I relate to it. I think that a lot of people fall into that same, okay, what's easy and what's expected because it's safe, right? Like I know, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of other chefs out there who have pivoted since the pandemic and simplified their food, like really, really simplified it, which is not a bad thing, and I totally understand why they went that route. But I am extra in awe of you for making your food the way you are making it. Because, like I said, it takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of courage to do that and be stubborn about it. Because I don't know how many times when I opened this place, people would come up to me and it's like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it." And and there are moments when I was like, "Are they right? Like, am I really way over my head?"
Yeah, but like I think the thing is like people like you and me, the way we approach it is like I appreciate all that stuff you say, and it makes sense to a degree, but it's like I think it's the opposite sometimes. It's like I am simplifying it, and I want to make it like way more crazy and like way more outlandish than it is. So like actually like I'm not like trying to like make something different. I'm actually like almost trying to make something expected,
Yes.
but like it just doesn't come out as expected because that's not who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Oh, totally. It's like I'm making a donut so it's approachable for people.
Yeah.
But really, if I called it something else, and then I have to explain it more. And then, again, like the simplifying thing, like the truth is, like what you said, you made food that's familiar, right? With bento and all of these concepts that most people already understand. It's just, I think for some of us, we cannot help but add that extra pizzazz because it's just the way
Can't
we
help
think.
it. That's what
it's
it
just the way
is.
we think.
What you
right?
say, can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, I donut stop. We
Yeah,
donut stop.
yeah.
But I totally agree. In fact, I'm still trying to figure it out, but trying to create a life right now that works for me where I can still make my donuts the way I want to make them. In fact, I've simplified it and I want to make it not complicated, but I want to actually make it even more really, really made from scratch. Like I want to mill my own flour. I want to just make donuts based on the produce I get that week. But in order to sell, most people want to know what they're buying. So I'm kind of it's kind of like a middle ground for
It's
now.
tricky. Yeah, it's definitely tricky when it comes to like the whole like local farm to table thing. Like, and we definitely like promote that, and that's what we do. It's just when it comes to like planning a production with Maui, it's like to find that balance because you have a lot of fruit that's like available on just a farm for a day.
Yeah.
And then it's like something else somewhere else, and so you kind of like can work with that freestyle, but at the same time, it doesn't allow you to plan.
Yeah.
So maybe that all the new lands they're starting to farm. I'm not expert on it, but I'm excited for the potential to have like consistent local citrus, where it's like you can get local citrus, but it's going to be there all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's going to be very exciting, I think.
So where do you source most of your produce now?
So we got some really cool farmers. So definitely work with one Thai gentleman, Uncle Boone.
Mm-hmm.
So his son owns Maui Thai Bistro.
Mm-hmm.
So he brought us today, for example, like about 60 pounds green papaya, scallions, Thai basil, Japanese eggplant.
Where's their farm at?
Dragon fruit. It's outside of Paia.
Outside of Paia.
Yeah, it's super nice. It's like a little gulch, and it's just like, but the way they have it organized is so impressive.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
I couldn't describe it because I'm not that technical on all the farming, but it's awesome. I had a great visit. And then we work as well. Well, one of my friends, one of my best friends, Dustin, he's a baker, Dustin Paladi, and so he's baking with us. He was a bartender at Spago, and so I live on the property that he lives on, and he grows our microgreens, so all of our pea sprouts and sunflower sprouts, as well as oyster mushrooms. So they're growing right on the property where I live, which is 2 blocks away from the bakery and the food truck.
Oh my god, how cool is that? Talk about like local within like less than 5 miles away.
Yeah, no, it's like straight up, like it's cool because we just like pick them live like right before service, so it's like no fresher than that. You can see the color on the sunflower sprouts. It's not the same as when they've been in the fridge for 2 days. We get what else? Maui cattle, Kauai shrimp, Kona Maine lobster, all Hawaiian caught fish.
Yeah, you use a lot of shellfish on your menu.
Yeah, used to use more ahi until it got so expensive, and then I had to switch it up. I was like, well, now I'm gonna sell lobster. I guess that's the move,
That's crazy to say. It's like, oh, ahi's so expensive, so I guess I'm gonna use lobster now.
Literally, that's what happened. Like, literally, I was like, I might as well sell lobster if ahi's gonna be that much. So, I mean, I love both, and we switch it up. But the lobster thing has been working for us, so we're gonna rock with it because not that many people will do it, so Yeah. And I think we do it right, Oh,
absolutely! I'm so excited. So I was telling you how I took a friend for her birthday last week, and then I have another friend who also just had his birthday. So I was like, okay, I guess I owe you dinner, or I'll take you out. And he's like, oh, take me to Kitoko. So I was like, that's really cool. Like, my friends are actually requesting for me to take them to their place now, which is kind of cool because it's like I'm literally taking them out, and it's a food truck, so it's nice. I feel like,
Yeah, it's super like flattering for sure.
But you really do beautiful work, and I think, like I said, I'm in awe because, in spite of all of the issues that we're having, where I feel like, yeah, we want to keep things even simpler, and I know that you've always simplified it. I can totally see what you mean by simplifying it, but it still is like just the way you plate them, the way you make all of the components, just so.
Kitoko, it means
Kitoko.
beautiful. That's
Oh,
yeah,
right, wait.
yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about that.
So we make all the elements Kitoko all the time.
So
It's,
tell us about Kitoko, because you mentioned most people think that it's a Japanese word, but it's not even a Japanese word. It's
yeah, people walk up to the trailer, they hear us speak Spanish, they're like, "Why aren't you talking Japanese?" I'm like, I wish I did, but I don't. Therefore, Kitoko is it means beautiful. So it comes from the Lingala language. So I get many friends in France, as well as somebody very important to me who I was engaged to previously, Christelle. She actually, the word Kitoko, it's like positive word, kind of like Ono in Hawaiian. So it's like in the music, a lot of the like Parisian music, where there's like Congolese singers, like, or who have Congolese parents, they sing Kitoko a lot in the songs. So I just like it because I believe that that's what we try to bring that flair and that beauty and that style to the food. Because a lot of people, actually, I don't know if people know, but in Congo they have this thing called les sapeurs, and it's like the guys, they dress up super fancy even though they have no money. And they have like the crocodile shoes, what I'm saying?
love
Like
it.
all the like the cane, the
Yeah.
suit, the hat, like the leopard hat, with the leopard skin.
Yeah.
And even though they get no money, so it's like, that's the way we try to like dress up the food as well. And I always try it for each dish, like how you do for your donuts. There's got to be a couple elements that nobody else is going to do.
Yeah.
That is going to make it stand out. The color, the texture, you know what I'm saying? It has to pop. So that's the Kitoko. That's what it is.
I love it. It's we had to talk about the donuts. I've actually had people ask me, it's like, oh, can you just do the glaze, and they want to decorate it themselves. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? No. No, this is what I do. It's kind of like going to an artist and say, hey, I prefer you don't do charcoal. Can you do like oil painting or whatever, changing your modality based on what they want. And I think that's the thing about artisanal work, which is what you do. It's sometimes people trivialize it because they're so used to it. They're so used to it as like service, like you're not. I don't want to be
for real. Like
servant.
they're like, okay, I want an omelet. I want a mushroom, cheese, just a little bit onion. And
Yeah.
like, no, that's not what we're doing over here. I don't know if you guys realize, like, not on the same plane.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about this before, where we find that we have to educate some people about that sometimes, because it depends on where you're going, right? Like, yeah, sure, you're going to go to Denny's and you have the checkout list of what you want in your
the
omelet.
example. I used that on a kid one time at the Four Seasons because he asked me why the pastry cook at Mama's Fish House never had problems putting out dessert for 500, 600 covers. And I didn't know nothing about Mama's Fish House back then. And I was like, well, because I don't know Denny's or wherever you worked at in the past. I didn't work at that place. I worked at a different place. So that's why, because I'm trying to make quality,
Yeah. And it's important, I think, to make a stand for that. And I know not everybody works the way you do or the way I like to work, but I feel that people need to know not to trivialize certain things. Like you said, a lot of sacrifice was taken, before you opened your place. Like even before when I opened this place, I slept where you are right now. Like,
yeah. Let's talk about it. Like, tell me more.
No, I literally slept here pretty much, 2 hours at a time. Like 4 hours a day, I would sleep like 2 hours at a time, right? So after we close the shop at 1:00, I will take a nap for a couple of hours, and then I'd get up, make doughs because they have to be made a day in advance, right? So I have to make it that day, and then I would take a nap. That's when my former partner was still here and we were working together. He would start rolling the dough by maybe 10 p.m. So I would sleep from 10 until 12, which is around the time maybe I'll start frying some of the donuts. But this was like 6 to 7 days a week, like no days off for 5 years.
And
Because
before that, like, you know, you put in the work, like, with all your, like, when you was coming up, you know what I mean?
before that is another story, right? Because like I said, a lot of young chefs now, they go to culinary school and I think that's it. And it's like, no, before I was able to create the donuts the way I like to create them now, it's not like I just came right out of school and had the knowledge,
Guarantee it. And, like, you know, you talk about the Culinary Institute of America, Maui College, you know, utmost respect for all these programs, 100%. But still, at the same time, like, it's not about school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, school is a thing. But for sure, I think on Maui, it can really push the kids forward. Yeah, work is like, there's so much to learn. And, you know, I would say just the best example is like literally the most basic thing, but don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like, somebody else already invented the wheel. So you have your, you know, whole style, you have your whole cooking style, just everything about you. And so you already have the style. So what you need to learn is the foundation. Yeah. And it's the same thing for me. Like, the style would come, but the foundation is like, pick the best people to work with. That's like, I cannot hit that home hard enough for the youth. Yeah. Is like, work at the right places and you will go so fast forward. So if any kid's looking for a job, you know, holler at her. Like,
well, they say, I mentioned this quote before, and I'm not sure if it's real because it's from the internet, but where Picasso said you have to learn the rules to know how to break them. And I think it's really important. Whether or not Picasso really said that, that's a really good quote, because the basics. You got to learn the basics. You got to learn your food science so that if you want to experiment, you have a good base to experiment from, and you make less mistakes, and you have more educated, make better, like, educated guesses if you're working with a new.
Yeah, your trial and error is like more success than error.
Exactly. Like, because then, as I'm sure you've dealt with this before, like, you work in the restaurants where you have like, somebody just brings these beautiful fruit or whatever produce that you got to work with that day. You have to have a good base of understanding. Is this, how sweet is it? How starchy is it? Like, you can even check the bricks and say, okay, I can like make like beautiful sorbet with this, like, pretty easy, blah blah blah. But knowing and understanding that, instead of just like, oh, whatever, I learned this base recipe, and you just use a new kind of fruit that you don't understand because of the sugar content, then you make boo-boos all the time, and
yeah. Well, there's a thing they say in France. It's Michalak is a famous pastry chef. He says that everybody can make some shit, but you just need to know when to stop.
Yes.
It's like, that's the issue. It's like, you see, like, okay, the first quarter of the tray don't look right, and then the guy did like 6 more trays exactly the same, and you're like,
my God.
You're like, bro, like, you know what I mean?
That happens to me a lot. That's kind of one of the reasons why I work alone now, because I don't want to say I have very little patience, because I really, really, really want to teach somebody else. But I've had many issues with this where I'm like, okay, I understand you don't get it right away, because the glazes are all different depending on the type of glaze that I make, and depending on the fruit that week. Sometimes it's looser or whatever, so you have to adjust.
You have to master it.
And also, I have not different, but but like a dipping technique so that it doesn't have feet. Right, and I hate that. Like, when
I guarantee, like, so he's trying to point out the details, and it's like, it's hard sometimes to transmit that. That's, you have to transmit it, but the other one has to receive it. So it's both,
It's both, but like, I actually worked with somebody who's probably made more donuts than I have in my life. So she's like, oh, I work in the busiest Safeway in the country and whatever, and she made.
And Denny's before that.
Pretty much.
Sorry, Sharon or whatever your name is. I apologize.
Nothing against Denny's, but everybody's different.
Oh, man.
They have a very different concept. Okay, so anyhow, this lady was just like, oh, I've made many donuts before, and. So she was dipping, and the way she dipped, it didn't matter to her if it was like lopsided, and like she would dip it, and then the glaze kind of like gradually kind of.
Yeah, but as soon as it doesn't matter, then that's like it's hard to change that,
Right, but see, that's the thing that I said to her. I was like, okay, you made one. Did it look like the one I made before. And she's like, no. I was like, well, why are you making a whole dozen more? And at some point, she wouldn't listen to me. That I cried because I was like so frustrated that she would just go, walk away from the work that she didn't care about. Meanwhile, my name is on that, you know. And it's like, if you're in doubt, like, you know, I give you an example. You don't have to make a whole dozen of it. Like, you'll know after 2 or 3, like, something's not working out.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
I feel that fire inside of you, you know, and I respect that. And I think that's the hardest thing is like my staff, like I love my staff, and I try and be like, I'll try and be like calm when I explain stuff, but sometimes I just come in, I see stuff, and I'm like, they do a great job, but there's just certain times when it's like I had a different idea of what I wanted to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all.
How do you work
And like,
it
how
out?
do you calm yourself down when you're like, because you're so passionate about it, so you
Yeah.
want to be like respectful and like kid gloves and all that shit, but it's like sometimes you gotta just be direct, you know?
So yeah, I was reading this again, a quote the other day about stoicism and how stoics are about, like, okay, if you have high standards, go for it. You know, this is what you want. You want to work hard to achieve that. That's great, but you cannot impose it on other people who don't even see what is so important about it, and they don't understand it. So
Yeah, you could bring it out in somebody that has it inside, but they don't see it in you.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I've had people like that work with me, and it's like it took a couple months, but then I got them to see that they had it, and
How do you do that? How,
you know, it's
feel
tough
like
when you
it's-
walk the line and you're like, is this gonna work with this person or not? But then it's like, I guess it's like ride or die. I don't know. It's like, you know, like I'll give you an example. There's been a few where it's like they're breaking. We make the rice, the crispy sushi rice blocks. You know,
yeah.
like to represent the musubi, the local emblem, whatever. You know, so that goes in our bento as part of it. And I've seen a couple guys that are very close to me like break like over and over and over again during service. I'm like, you can't just like sit here and break the rice all day, and then like
Yeah.
I obviously in a different way.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not my goal, you know. But at the same time, like I think that some of them they're like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like this actually matters because I do think that what we're doing, like, although yeah, it's not like we're not doctors. You know what I mean? We're not but it matters because we're putting a value on something.
Yeah.
The food that
Yeah.
is like to us, it's like our religion. It's like our passion. You know what I'm saying? And we're putting a value on it. We're not doing this for the money. We're not doing this for nothing else because we just like we want to see that product look like how it needs to look because it's when you get it right, it's just exciting. Like honestly, just try like a new special with the team. It's great to hear the feedback from the customers, but like just share it with the team is the best moment in my opinion.
So, what kind of leader are you? How do you describe yourself as, you know, a leader in your business?
You know, I would say that I'm growing as a leader in the business. I definitely try to communicate a lot to each of the staff, and I try my best to make things clear. That being said, I think I need, you know, work on the written part of my communication because I've realized that you can't always expect just because you have this crazy idea that you've been thinking about all weekend for the new special, and then you explain it to somebody, and you thought you were clear for them to actually like understand fully what you mean. So, or even like training new staff members. So I think that, you know, I'm a good leader in the sense that like I lead by example. Like definitely I have the work ethic, the you know what I mean, the drive, the passion, the fire. You know, I get excited about new dishes. So like that's I think great leadership. I think that when it comes to you know, just I want to grow in terms of letting my staff express themselves more, and delegate more, and like I always try to have objectives for my staff. For it's like, all right, how are you guys gonna move forward in the next 6 months? Like, what's your next project? What you know, what I mean, where are you gonna grow? Because not only does that make my life a lot easier, but it helps them for whatever's coming next in their life. You know.
So, are you strict like a typical French chef, or
Nah, really, like, I think that, honestly, mostly I'm super laid back, super casual. I think that maybe I could be a little bit too nice or lenient sometimes. I could definitely be harsh, but I think those moments are relatively rare. Yeah, I could be a little harsh, but I think most of the time, like, it's my perspective, you know, it's my point of view. Like, I guess, like, at Spago, for example, a lot of local people, like, that everybody probably on the island worked at Spago for 2 weeks. First of all, you know what I'm saying? It's a rite of passage.
True. It's true.
Yeah.
Laughing,
But a
but-
lot of people was like, you know, they're like, oh my god, that place is like so strict, like so, and I'm like, you know, I saw it as quite the opposite, but you know, for good and for bad. Like the people in the Four Seasons here when I first arrived, first of all, they were so cordial, like so, like not pretentious. Like it's coming from France. It's like the vibe, like the aloha was like for real.
Yeah.
Like it was like wow, these people is like actually nice. Like and they're not looking at you like all like out of the corner of their eye, you know. Like but French people, the thing is like they can be very judgmental, but at the same time they are meticulous and mostly fair, I would say. So it's like it's definitely a totally different vibe. So I think like for me, it's like, am I harsh or lenient? I mean, I would say I'm more lenient than harsh, but it depends on who's observing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huh. Well, I just wondered because again, we have a younger generation of you can't. It's hard to. I don't want to say discipline them.
It's hard to ask them to clean up after themselves.
Yeah, I think that's so crazy because I've worked most restaurants I've worked at. I don't consider the job finished until I cleaned up after myself. Before, like I have to budget in the time of cleaning up my station before I left, and I've not found a young cook yet here that thinks that that's a big part of their job.
I got them all. No, just kidding.
You got them all. You did. You did. Oh my god, you probably did. Yeah, because it's tough. Also, you know, you came from the hotels, which I think when everything shut down, the ones that are used to working in that environment, at least you kind of got them in your team. Whereas I'm in Wailuku, and I felt like it's and I make donuts, right? Donuts, even if I think they're really special.
They are.
They are. They are. Thank you. But if I have to explain that to people, and for their resume or something, it's not a big deal enough for them.
I know what you mean. Like, you know, I had that with a, you know, lovely young cook that was on my team, and like she's a great friend of ours, and definitely like, you know, felt a certain type of way when she left to go work in the hotel because I was like, okay, like that Kitoko name, it ain't got enough shine for you, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I totally respect the decision, and she's doing fantastic right now. But it definitely gave me more fire inside to be like, okay, you know, like maybe I'm nothing on the resume, but I'm gonna be a lot to your growth, your experience, you know. And like I'm sure that like you have plenty of youth came work with you that like they probably still holler at you to this day and thank you for everything they learned.
Yeah, I'd like to think that. Like I'd like to think that I showed them something that's so different and unusual. That's more character building and career building than just a resume that says, hey, you worked at such and such hotel or restaurant that they know of. Because starting your own business the way we have, you know, with very little money, with no PR, you know what I mean? It's like pretty much everything that you see there, I'm sure with you as well, that is written about us, it's just because they found us and they found that we do something special, not because we had a PR person.
But you know what else? Like right now, you get this podcast, like new media. You know, it's a new thing, and Instagram, all that. So you can hype yourself a little bit in that way, and I think that's like, to me, I wanna say this to a lot of the youth and a lot of the people hiring people out there, like. Yeah, I want to see a little bit like the Instagram of like the people I'm hiring. Like I want to see what they got. Like it's not just about the name of the place they worked at, but if there's a place I haven't heard of and they're like, this is where I worked, like, or the resume, whatever, like show me it. And also, I would say, I like to give advice to youth going into a job interview. You know what I mean? And like you go into a job interview, just like have confidence. You know what I mean? And talk about like you know what you learn and stuff like that. Like don't be scared.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing too. Like resume, it matters to back up what's on your resume. Because I see, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I see a lot of hollow resumes. You know what I mean? You work at this or that hotel. You work at, I don't know, the Waldorf or the whatever. Like, and I'm like, well, which one? And what was it actually like? You know, what did you do?
Yeah, that was your responsibility. Because if you were just peeling potatoes day in day out, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, if you're stagnant in your growth in that big company, what good is it for your growth on a personal level and on a professional level, other than what's on paper.
Yeah, and somebody like, for example, to grow alongside of you, alongside somebody like me or like some of the other, new like entrepreneurs here, is like, I think it's cool for them, and I would have loved to see that experience. I did get a little bit of it in some of my apprenticeship, like seeing businesses grow. So it's like, you're not just learning how to cook the dishes or like how to operate the station or like how to manage a few staff members that you have in your station or whatever, but like you're actually seeing the development of a business from like something to something else. And
Absolutely.
so like when I did my apprenticeship, I worked at a spot that went from like 2 shops to 5 while I was working there. And just like seeing the different methods that had to be implemented as that kind of like scaled up and grew, it was like I saw the potential to make really great products and to make a lot of them. And I was like, I didn't know that was a thing before. Like I thought like, only tiny batches was quality, and I was like, no, I actually make like big batches and make it great too. So that was like a whole new world.
Well, yeah, that's where the structure and being methodical helps, right? Like what you're saying. So you recently acquired Blue Door, correct?
Yeah, it was a big move for us. So, super stoked about that. It's been a huge project, huge challenge, putting a lot of hours into it. But I think it's gonna really move forward like next like 6 months.
What are your plans for it? So you're gonna, because I remember they used to wholesale bread at Whole Foods, and I mean I thought like best bread ever. I was super excited, and then they shut down. I don't really know exactly what happened, but then they reopened, and then you took over.
Yeah,
What are your plans with Blue Door?
so first of all, we have the Blue Door and the Kitoko trailer side by side, which is
Perfect.
pretty cool because it allows me to see what's going on. Like it's hard for me. Like this is my first go around, so all of a sudden like have 2 businesses when like I never had even one before. It's like it's a challenge. So for Blue Door, like wrapping my head around the concept, exactly how to develop it, was a little bit challenging at first. But when I arrived, it was sourdough bread and sourdough pizza. Fantastic product. Respect to the staff and the operators that were there before me, and the property owners. And basically, I just was like, okay. When I came in, what I saw was, okay, you have 2 great products, but it's not a well-rounded product line. High quality, but very limited, and also the customer approach didn't make any sense to me. It's like it was not welcoming the way that they had it set up. So I really tried to like give it a vibe. So like you come in, and now we get 2 display cases. So one is the individual tarts inside, and then all the bread on top with sign in front of each bread. So it's like you see exactly what's going on, and it's just like kind of just like flows upward. On the other side, we just recently added the antipasti, the cheeses, open face sandwiches, salads, and then on top you have more like antipasti items, all the capers, olives, all that stuff on top of the case. And then sourdough bread on the side, the pizzas. So it's somewhere you can come for a celebration. You can come like for weddings, you can come for graduations, birthdays, you can come for a date, you can come just for a casual like lunch, come on your own to work on a computer. So the idea is like, okay, well it's a bakery, but look at like, I don't know, in Europe or like San Francisco or wherever, you have like nice bakeries that maybe people want to come hang out there, they want to spend time there, they want to bring their friends there. So it's not just like, I felt like before it was a little industrial since they were so focused on the wholesale aspect of it. So we are definitely pushing the retail. Like we do wholesale, and that's cool. Anybody reach out to us about wholesale, we're into it. But at the same time, we have to very cautiously consider those options, because right now we have a lot more different product lines than before, and there's not multiple staff on each one. It's a little thin. So we're making small batches, but we're making a lot of different cool stuff,
Right.
And trying to also like utilize the day-old bread in smart ways. Because to reduce waste, because it's like one of the hardest things is projecting your production, and that's one of the cool things you came up with is the pre-orders only, and when you can kind of know what you need to make, it's so satisfying to know that like, okay, I'm not guessing, and then maybe some stuff has to be given away or thrown in the rubbish or whatever. That's like the last thing we want, because not only do we work hard for the product, but like the farmers work hard to create it, the
Yeah.
delivery people that work hard to deliver it. Like,
I'm allergic to food waste, I would say. Like, so that's why I try to do. I'm really happy with the pre-orders because then I know that I won't have food waste. And then the way I set up my menu, I have ways to use any kind of trim. So I've actually had. I've had this person come up to me a long time ago. And she's like, "Why don't you just re-roll the dough and make new donuts off of the re-rolled dough and sell them for cheaper?" And I was like, you are asking me to purposely make an imperfect product, like knowing that it will be
but
imperfect.
you came up with a way. You showed me to like repurpose it. So,
yeah, so I use like one of my donuts, the cinnamon toasty crunchy. So I re-roll the trim, bake a full-on loaf with it, and I cut mini croutons and make mini cinnamon toasts. So that's the topping. Instead of like when you go to a donut shop where they buy all their cereals to put on top of their donut. I'm like, no. I make my own cereal. So I made basically mini cinnamon toast, and that's what's on top of it. So if anything, it's really fun to see like or to show off that okay, this is the brioche dough, and then showing you two ways basically, right? Like the trim has now a different texture, but it's exactly the same dough, and giving it new life. So I tend to do that, and or some of the other trim, I use it as like a biga to make a new dough.
Yeah, like that's definitely so cool that they figured that stuff out long
time ago. And it adds better flavor to the dough, and you use less
Guaranteed.
yeast. Basically, it's a pre-ferment, and so I love using that technique to avoid food waste.
Dope.
So yeah, that's kind of my thing now, and I even make a donut bread pudding. And oh my god, did I tell you this? I make ice cream. I have a pocket jet under all this stuff. Anyways, I have a pocket jet, and so obviously you know how the pocket jet works. So what I do is, I basically make the ice cream base and put the whole donut in it.
Chop it up.
Chop it up, and then I churn it.
Dope.
And so this is literally the donut ice cream. So whatever donut flavor I have, I would make a donut ice cream based on that flavor, and then I sandwich that with a malasada. So that is basically borrowed from the idea of profiteroles, as well as when I was a kid in the Philippines, we had these sorbetero guys, which they push their cart with ice creams in it, and you can have your ice cream served in a traditional cone, or you can have it sandwiched in a small pandesal,
Okay.
like a soft,
Yeah.
soft bread. So that was the inspiration of that, and again using trim or what you would call food waste and making a completely different new product with it that's actually fabulous. That's really fun. So that's how I try to create, like, no food waste, but using the trim and giving it new life, instead of like, okay, well, it's leftover, it's cheap, it's day old donuts, so it's cheaper. I don't sell day old donuts.
Yeah. It's definitely like that's the thing is it's like. It's so crazy too sometimes how your product line just evolves like in ways you don't expect.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's
And
so
like
true.
that's a lot of fun too. It's like it's great to plan everything out, but then sometimes you just come up with the best ideas like
When you make mistakes sometimes.
so randomly, or just like you have this idea and it's like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah, I love it. I really love it. I love being able to create as the way we do, where at this point now it's ours. So it's so nice not to have a boss saying like, oh, this is what I want the menu to be, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And it was great when we had that guidance when we worked for other people. So now we can know, or hopefully learn how to be leaders and run a kitchen like you do now.
And you still hear those voices in your head sometimes.
Yes,
right?
you do.
They never go away.
Yeah, but that's, I think, what the beauty is of learning from people instead of just school. I mean, I do obviously have a lot of favorite chef instructors back in the CIA, but really most.
You went to one in Cali, yeah?
Yeah, I went to Greystone. Yeah, actually.
I get one letter from Chef Bella.
Yeah.
So I get one letter for Chef Bella if you're watching this. First of
Oh,
all,
I'm gonna invite her on the show anyway. So
yeah, well,
she and I used to hang out a lot
I got a
more
letter
than
from
other
the CIA in New York, so they're looking for you. Cause I live in Ohana, where she used to live in before. That's why.
You know what happened to me once I opened the shop? When I moved into the shop, I totally lost touch with everybody because I was here all the time. And unless you came in and bought donuts, I would never meet you. And that's one of the reasons
Well,
why
I got to meet you. I just sent a message on Instagram. I was like, Madame Donut, You're inspiring us all. I would
thank
love
you.
to meet you one day, and then you showed up like 2 days later. So
Right?
respect. You know.
No, I was so
That meant a lot that you showed up. Like
well,
you know.
I was very flattered because I've admired your work for so long, and so for you to say that, I was like, is he saying this right? Like, is he saying I'm inspiring? Well, he's like, I mean, I was intimidated, not intimidated, but more like, holy shit, this guy is not joking around, and it's so great to see that because I feel like it's rare, and I relate to it because there's a certain stubbornness that we have.
We don't play.
We don't play. We're not playing around. We're serious about what we do, and we put our heart and soul to into our work, and I think that's so obvious because again, if we didn't, we would have chosen an easier route, and it wouldn't be this complicated to run it. But
True.
yeah, but thank you for that. But yeah, I thank you for reaching out to me, and I'm also glad that I'm at this point in my life where I can do that because, like I said, before the pandemic, I didn't have the chance to meet people, and after the pandemic and I had to make all of these pivots, I realized that as much as I loved making the donuts, I didn't want to be making donuts every single day on my own the way I do. Because if it takes me at least 2 days to get ready to open for one day, there's no way. I'm not sleeping for like 27 to 30 hours.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you still enjoy it.
Exactly. And so once a week is fun because that's just like, I'm raging. It's like my party. And it's like free drugs because I'm delirious after that because I haven't slept. So I'm like really confused, but it seems no drugs. I'm like delirious. And it's great, but I can't do that more than once a week because it's not really healthy.
Yeah.
So
100%.
That's why I try to do all these other things. And the podcast, I'm just really having fun because this gives me an excuse to talk to really interesting people like yourself.
Whatever.
Well, because it's usually hard, right? We're so busy.
Yeah.
It's really tough to come out of your space and say, oh, hey, you're interesting. I want to meet you, right? But having a podcast gives me this like excuse because I'm working. I'm talking story, but I'm working, But I mean, this doesn't make me any money. But the goal is
next year.
Next year. Well, the goal is, I think I mentioned this to you. One of the reasons why I started the podcast is to gain more interest in the subjects that I like to talk about, like sustainability and supporting other small businesses on Maui, and really highlighting what makes Maui so special and people, the shakers and makers of Maui, that makes it Noko'oi. So. That's really the purpose of this show, other than to post pictures of my butt.
Hey,
So far, nobody's reported me or complained.
Why would they ever do that?
I'm having way too much fun. Actually, my mom saw us. She's following Madame after midnight, and she's just giggling. She just thinks it's funny. So, phew, I'm so glad. I was afraid that she was gonna. I didn't know if I should
She was gonna shun you for life.
Right, disown me, and I didn't know if I was gonna block her off of this page. But she's she's so funny. She just thinks it's funny. So
well, I don't know if my mom's on the gram or whatever, the YouTube, but maybe I have to email her like one video of this.
What are these videos? But I didn't actually give you a lap dance. So that's the next show when I have the secret menu.
I won't send you that one, Mom.
Yes, we'll edit that out. But anyways, I don't want to keep you for very, very, very long, even if I don't really want to let you go because I'm having way too much fun. But I know you have to open tomorrow. So is there anything else we need to know about your business, how to find you for people who haven't found you yet? You are at South Maui Gardens.
Yeah. So it's been crazy ride. We found this lovely home in South Maui Gardens. So it's just up the street from the cove where everybody learned how to surf in Kihei.
Yeah.
So we're at 35 Ohana Road. We get the lunch wagon. You have the green coffee shop right across the way.
I love them.
Awesome.
I love
and
them.
They get donuts from Donut Dynamite.
Yeah, you just got donuts the other day.
Yeah,
Cute.
so I'm always checking it out. Get a couple of those. And we get the bakery. So it's super exciting. It's an oasis is a cool thing. Like it's like a jungle setting in the middle of
Love
Kihei,
it.
which is just like strip malls and like a dust bowl. I love Kihei. I picked to live in Kihei, so it's great. But it's a dust bowl full of strip malls at the same time. So
Yeah.
where we
exactly.
are is just lush.
Yes.
So
It's-
that was amazing to find, and we look forward to seeing anybody stop by.
And you're open Tuesday through Saturday.
The lunch wagon's open Tuesday to Saturday for lunch and dinner, and the bakery is open every day except for Sunday,
Oh.
from
Okay,
breakfast all the way through dinner.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, cool.
It's crazy, but
And then anything, what's in the future for you? Do you
in the future, like I'm just trying to get better at what I'm doing right now. So like on the real, like I think growth like is gonna come from within, like from within myself, from within the team, improving the kitchen, the setup, like the product line. I think this can last for a few years for sure. Like I don't need to go too fast.
You don't need to escape to Brazil right now.
That would be cool though.
Maybe go on vacation or something.
You never know.
You never know. That's being true though. I always kind of thought that like if you start your business, you're kind of stuck there for a while. But it's nice to keep an open mind as well. So.
Man, it's
but
crazy.
Maui has embraced you, so it's
in a way I never could have expected, and it's been great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chef, for taking the time and hanging out with me tonight. I didn't get drunk enough to go crazy and harass Chef, and I actually was thinking about it. I kept like biting my tongue just because like don't do it, don't embarrass yourself.
Oh, it's all right, man. Jokes are fun, whatever.
But plus, you weren't wearing your naughty hat. I was expecting your naughty hat, and then we would have probably did a dance with like.
Was that like an actual hat, or is it just like a state of mind? I'm confused.
No, it depends. If you had one and it's super cute, then I would have danced on the table with just a hat on. Woo! Anyhow, okay. Well, thank you so much, Chef, for being with me this evening. And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and staying with us till the end of the show. If you are watching us on YouTube, I'll be back next week at 9:01 p.m. And tonight, Monday after midnight, I go on Twitch for my karaoke after midnight. And maybe I'll have another cocktail or two for my nightcap. Anyways, thanks again. I appreciate everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Let your crazy come out just a little bit. I can see by how you're moving that you're feeling it. You ain't have to hide it, you can't fight it, you're an animal. Everybody got a wild side. Yeah, you're probably about to see mine. Come on, don't you think it's about time to live it up, can't get it up, of your wild side. Everybody got a wild side.
I know, right? And oh shit, it's still recording. Hold on. Let me just turn this thing off.
What, are you trying to do the outtakes right now?
It's so funny.
I see you.